Hello, this is the September 2022 Terrain Parkour update. It's been a while, guys. How's it going? A lot of progress in the game, which I'd like to demo to you. So there's a couple things to go over. First of all, this is a new area that was added. One of the players created a fan game, which I think is awesome, called Landscape Acrobatics. And it was very interesting to see their way of adding terrain is kind of different than mine. And so I asked them for permission to include a section, and they agreed. So this area right here, this little section with the rings and the disc and the basin and the unique sign names and stuff is from them. So go play that game. It's cool. Appreciate the work that they put into it. It's great. You'll notice a new thing I'm calling dynamic running. So it's these popovers that show you the success of your current run, or the relative success of the run you're currently doing relative to your past history and that past history of the race that you're competing in. So let me give you an example. So I did this today. It's out in version 177, but as you can see, it's not totally perfect. So I guess that was accurately predicting that I was going to get an 8th. Well, it's not predicting, it's saying if you were to finish now, your time is on track to get this rank. I think I'm still thinking about what I want to emphasize. Like right now I emphasize, do you beat your prior time primarily? And I think in certain cases, and I color that green, but in certain cases, if you beat your prior time to get a better rank, like a better placement, it can be confusing because you feel like green ought to mean you won world record, So this will improve my time by 6 seconds, right? 22 to 16, but it wasn't actually very competitive globally. So I'll iterate on this once people give me some feedback on some demos. I think I got most of the bugs out, but there may still be one occasionally. It is funny when why did it not? Okay, what happened there? Wow. Oh, this doesn't look good. Okay, so that was bad. So there's some kind of weird thing that can happen sometimes. Okay, what else is new? Let's see, it's been a long time since I did a video. So let me just give you a tour of what's going on. The Discord has been going well. So have been talking a lot about sign names in there. So amber is for the way insects would get trapped in amber from millions of years ago when people would look at them, which I think is really cool. This region hasn't changed too much. There's been some infilling of signs. Let's see. So let's look at the whole world. Let's get to a better place where we can get clear overhead, unobstructed view. Let's go over here. Let's examine the whole world and look at the new places, and then we can warp around and look at it. And later on we should have an RR race with people. I also want to demonstrate some of the code. So let's see what's changed. So the world is about 14,000 studs long now. Some of the more murky places have gotten filled in. Some of the places that were quite annoying in that there were a major risk to fall down, particularly this steep slope below Merely, the Wall of Slag, Tipperary, Mott, Castle. I filled this all in. It's settling in well, I think. Was able to come up with a new technology for covering complex sort of spaces like this, which I'm pretty happy with. Added on some new regions here, so let's warp over there. Whoa, they're saying it's breaking the game. Okay, so this is a new region which will grow out, but will also connect horizontally. This is one of the furthest points you can possibly go. Let's run out here, hit this, and then run back and see. Give you a demonstration of what dynamic running looks like. in practice. I think something that's been happening in the game is I've been making things bigger and bigger, sort of losing context of like human scale. And it'll be bad for a while, but then as I come and fill in the gaps, I think it can work out. Equal temperament is a type of musical tuning. I like watching YouTube videos about tuning stuff. It's sort of a way to fit in the human audio system or some human sensory system into a more mathematical system, and all the problems that happen with that. It's pretty interesting. Oh, here comes somebody. Okay, so now do you think that they'll have done Caldor? I think they will. I think 99% chance they'll have done Caldor. This sort of leads to an idea that I want to do, overlapping running. So actually, like, I'm pretty close. As you can see, so it would be cool if I could see. So let's do. Okay, so there's only 2 runs. So I could get a new third. It's orange because that means I'm not really setting any records. I'm just sort of filling up a space in the leaderboard. Now, do you think they'll have done a run to here? Oh yeah, let's talk about overlapping running. So overlapping running is when, I don't know if I would implement this because it would really change the game. This would be a new race. They haven't done this. Can I get up here? Maybe they haven't done this one very much. Oh, there's a new sign down there called Gold Pond. That's named after an Edgar Allan Poe story that I find very interesting for its like really extreme vocabulary use. Honestly, that's the main thing I like about it that I can remember. Anyway, so have they done Lutum here? Almost definitely not. Okay, other things that are updated since the last video. I did a bunch of research into Movement v2, including like an implementation in another game. The way that works is there's constant acceleration, and a high speed and a maximum speed, which both vary by terrain. So this terrain might have low acceleration but high maximum speed, etc., to sort of incentivize you to think more when you're choosing your route via terrain. Oh yeah, so overlapping racing. So what is it? Overlapping racing would be, say I'm running from Ludum now, right? And when I hit any sign, it's going to clear what I'm racing from. What if it didn't clear? So I'd be running from Ludum, and then I'd hit improv, and I would get credit for running Ludum to improv, and then I would start a new race from improv while maintaining my existing race from Ludum, each with their own start time. So I'd have been running from Ludum 55 seconds ago, and I'd be running from improv, what is it now? 7.8 seconds ago. And so then subsequently when I would touch Decker, I would get credit for completing 2 races, and then I would start a 3rd race. And that might also do overlapping racing, so at that point I'd be doing 3 at a time. So obviously the later times, like the original time from Ludum to Decker, because I took a detour to go to improv in the middle, it's not going to be like a great time, but it's going to be a time. I should make one of these the Roblox logo. Thinking about it now, there should be a nice little cutout square there. Okay, it would be a time, right? So basically your entire session would be just running around, hitting every sign, filling in everything. The leaderboards would be wonderfully spread out with very different times, which I think would be pretty interesting. One of the most satisfying things about the game is when there's a nice spread between people at different places. Let's see crenellation. Let's see what that'll look like over here. Crenellation is named after, this is such a messy area. Yeah, this is one of the least perfected areas in the game. Crenellation is named after castles, which I was fascinated with as a kid, and the way they have walls that have a lot of jagged tops to allow for hiding places and arrow slits and things like that. That was what it was all about. So this is pretty well run around here. The point of dynamic running is so that if you pick a sign like I've done and run way across the map, you don't have to, and you're like, oh, okay, I wanna hit the sign, like I wanna hit an echo here. But if I'm not gonna set a record of any type personally, what's the point? So this is a bug. So it said new race there, right? So this is the last thing I have to fix about this. It said new race, and what that actually means is new race for me. But the detection for like new race for me, so it should have been like fixed second place, actually. It should have said new second in orange. Would not place. It's hilarious how it's just like, the times are so similar. So the point of movement V2 would be to make it so that there's more divergence, there's more skill. I'm gonna raise the skill cap. All right, so that's been the basic update. Walked around, given examples. So this is the chaos zone, which you're not allowed to warp things around. Now let's do. Let's examine the leaderboard and see what everybody's been doing. So if you'll notice, there's a new component to a leaderboard here called CWRs. So that means competitive world records. These are world records where the leaderboard has at least 10 people on it. So they're much more significant than the default naive world records, which the majority of are composed, I guess, the majority of which are composed of just runs which have been run exactly once, which is kind of my style. Pick a sign, run across the map sort of like a maniac, and in a way that probably nobody's ever going to do and never compete against you again. And then hit the sign and get like a race discovery, which is a totally valid way of playing, but overlaps with world records. So I'm trying to split that out a bit. More generally, make it so that, so every world record as they're counted now is actually a new race world record, a top 10 world record, and or a competitive world record. Top 10 world record would be one which has between 2 and 11 people. It's from 2 to 10 people doing it. This really makes obvious a problem with the way I've done the visualization here. I haven't never been over here before on this end of it. That's weird. In that it can overlap. The initial version of this that I made this morning could be seen through walls. Like it was always on top, was set. And it was great, except it, like you would see the one for the sign in the very corner there as you would approach it from underneath. And it just felt like I was violating the rule of the game as far as reality, I guess. Skiochi, I forgot what that one means. Yeah, some of these signs have more meaningful. Oh, there's somebody down there. I really like how visible people are, just like ants, seeing them from 1,000 miles away as they're running about their business. All right, why don't we have a RR race after I finish this? One more run. That's one of the slogans of the game. One more run. Okay. Oh yeah, so competitive world record. So you can see in total there's about 2,800 competitive races. So like seriously, serious races. Oh, Red has done this one. And so he's got about like 8% or so, which is pretty nice. I've got 17, and I'm sure if people knew what they were, they'd be able to take them away from me. All right, let's look at badges before we do our race. So as I'm looking back at this, I kind of didn't develop for a while, but got into it in the last couple of weeks again. As I'm looking back at this, I just see things that I really want to fix just everywhere. Everywhere there's things I want to improve. Like my icon doesn't appear here. There should be a total column. There should be some way to get dates on these. So let's talk about these. So I'm happy with how this came out. The progression, like automatic progression matrices. You don't get that with Steam, for example. Like there's not enough integration between Steam and the game so that the game can tell the platform progress. Found signs, there's found 550 signs. Nobody's got yet because there aren't 500 signs yet. But the other principle of the game is that there should never be a limit. Like, the game is not about designing things for you to do and then making the way you do them. It's more about relatively independently designing things to do and then another set of things you can achieve. Which is why for a long time there was a badge. There's many badges which are not currently gettable. There was a badge for going, I think, a race 12 or 14,000 studs away, and that's not possible because the map isn't big enough. And it just when the world got bigger, that became possible. That's just how it works. Actually, we didn't finish looking at the map, so let's see. So this is the Yap area. I think of it as like a Pacific island. Down here, this is a very weird effect. Down here is kind of a trashy area that we'll see what becomes of that. I'm happy with how this came out. It's like using some new building style. And there's a smiley face thing. Here's a floating sign. Oh, the other thing that was added was a disappearing sign, which appears only certain hours, only certain minutes of the hour. That came out okay. What else is new? This area hasn't changed that much recently. Gold Pond here hasn't changed. The signs are becoming much more warpable than before. Anything new over here? Yeah, this new spiderweb area called Unicycle will gradually get filled in. So for a long time there was a kind of broken aspect to the game, which is that where I had done maps that had a lot of altitude variation, it's really fun when you fall down, but the edge of the falling down area, like you fall down and there's a path down and that's fine. But then on the edges, it's much harder to build, and there tended to be only one way in or out, which is just not very fun. Because the other theme of the game is there should always be multiple ways to go, at least conceivably, to something. And if something is like at the bottom of a long bridge or something like that, it's just not very good. This area was designed kind of for Movement V2. This was being done while I was working on that. And the thinking was to balance the choice that you would make between staying on the same terrain, which, switching terrains has some negative effect, and the value of taking the shortest route. Okay. The other thing that's changed is, well, this is about the same as before. Yeah, I don't think there's any new things. I've added a lot more signs with like unusual characters. I have the Among Us sign, the Snowman 8-ball sign, Georgian language Dune sign, things like that. We also have contests now. There's been 11 weekly contests. Each contest consists of the total time that a user has spent to run some number of races. There's been contests with 4 races, and some have fewer, some have more. This one is pretty competitive, so let's say Hype and Prince are the leaders, mostly BioSploosh has this one. Looks like he's found some kind of cool way to do it. People are running around. So the other thing that's missing here would be a gradient per race showing the relative speed. So like Prince would be the fastest. This would be lighter green. This would be redder down here. And that would really distinguish between cases like here where Bontes and me have like huge bad times, and this is very different. In contrast to times like, this where everyone has between 22 and 24 seconds all the way out to here. The other funny thing about this contest is I added Ice Cave, which, some people don't like that idea. And I can understand that. It's a hard sign to run to. Oh, I was meaning to add a sign right here, right to the middle. All right, well, I think it's about time for an RR race. So I will cut the video and start uploading. Thanks, guys. This has been Terrain Parkour 177, signing out.